We've been doing the USC Dornsife LA Times poll since 2009, so for a few years now. And of course, this is the first poll of 2012, heading into a pretty important presidential election year. And what we're already seeing is that even when comparing him to the last couple of years, President Obama is extremely popular in California. There's no question that this is one of his strongest states in the country. His approval ratings are up from last year. They're at the highest level in California since the spring of 2010.
It's 57% of voters surveyed approve of his job performance, which is an increase by 7 points since the last time we did a poll last year. And they're really feeling more confident about his handling of the economy, jobs, as well as taxes.
But the one issue that stood out more than any other in terms of the voters' positive assessment of the president is on the issue, not on the broader issue of health care, but on the more specific topic of women's health issues. Given the controversy and the debate that's gone on over the last several weeks about contraception and other related issues, it's not that surprising. And it reminds us that California voters, particularly on social and cultural matters, stand with the president very firmly.
The one, I think, big trouble spot for the president in this poll was the gas prices, where 2/3 of the people surveyed, including Democrats, don't approve of the way he's handled them. But it isn't yet playing out in his approval ratings. So while people are not pleased with his handling of gas policy or energy policy, they're still, especially among Democrats, they're still supporting him. But the question is what happens next if we have months and months of high gas prices, and also what this means in the rest of the nation. Because if people, including Democrats in California, are feeling this way, you have to wonder how voters in other states are feeling.
Because California's primary comes at the very end of the process, most polls you see taken in this state tend to reflect national numbers, and this poll is no exception. Mitt Romney is significantly ahead.
The polling shows that Mitt Romney has a pretty big advantage here, nearly 20 points over the next competitor, which is Rick Santorum. He shows strength across most income levels, educational levels, geographically. There's a few exceptions. Rick Santorum shows strength in the Central Valley, where the voters tend to be more culturally conservative. And among voters who have the least education, the ones who either have a high school degree or did not finish high school, Romney and Santorum are tied. And one interesting point is that Ron Paul, while he's in fourth place here, among voters aged 18 to 29, he leads with, he's number one, he leads with 30% of the vote.
The interesting thing about the Republican primary numbers is not so much that Romney's ahead by a sizable margin. That's pretty predictable. What's interesting is that while Romney maintains a very sizable lead over Rick Santorum, he's not making any inroads into the demographic voting groups that have carried Santorum in other states. In other words, Romney's winning the state by a larger margin, not because he's picking up a broader base of support, but because the voters who tend to support him, suburban voters, upscale voters, more moderate Republicans, are more populous in California than in the Midwest or the South.
One of the more interesting statistics in this poll was that the level of dissatisfaction among Republican primary voters. We've had months and months of campaigning and contests, and yet still 50% wish that there was another option.
It shouldn't be surprising that a state that supported Barack Obama by such a wide margin over John McCain in 2008 is poised to support him again for re-election in the fall of 2012, whether the nominee be Romney or Santorum or anyone else. The gasoline issue should be a warning sign for Obama, not so much in California, but in other parts of the country where we're more likely to see a competitive election. Anything can happen 7.5 months from Election Day, but right now California still looks pretty much like Obama country.